Well, hello, thank you very much. I'd like to thank all the respectable persons and lovely institutions that brought me here. It's a real pleasure to talk about Les Grands Voisins. So that's French for the great neighborhoods, and that's the temporary life of a disused hospital in the very center of Paris, because, well, we are dealing here with not with post-industrial spaces, but post-medical, and in the very center of Paris. So that's maybe a wee bit different from all other presentations. So this is the today's hospital. It's at 3.5 hectares. Sorry, I'm speaking Republican measures. Right at the center of Paris, there are 2 subway stations, 1 metro line. So a very central, once again, site. Which used to be very, very long ago a religious institutions, and then along the century came another part of its history. It's been a maternity, later on an orphanage, then an hospital. So we got multiple layers of history and patrimonial stuff on the site, and in the end. Around 2010, the hospital started to relocate, and like many other Parisian hospitals, and empty buildings started to appear on the site. And then a new layer of activity was added through the presence of Aurore. So here are the 3 milestones of the history of the project. Aurore is a non-profit organization. It's old and quite a big structure. It's specialized in the hosting, sheltering of homeless people, and also in the healthcare that goes along, and as well as the necessary social work to bring people back to an autonomous life. And they slowly took over 4 buildings on the site, hosting up to 600 people. Between 2012 and 2014. So there was a mixed use between medical and social activities. When in 2014 a big shift occurred, because the whole hospital had been relocated, and there was an alternative: either shut down all activities, secure the site, and wait for the future, because there was a project, and there still is a project of building an eco neighborhood on this site, or try and think differently and not lose all this precious social work that was done here. So there was a big sit down with the collectivity, the landlord, Aurore also, and they came up with the idea of a mixed use program open to the public and center on social work. So that's basically the 3 main ideas behind the Les Grands Voisins project. Of course, Aurore isn't specialized in such temporary uses, and they had to find a few complementary activities. So that's Plateau Urbain, and that's Yes We Camp. So Plateau Urbain, I'm also representing Plateau Urbain here. We are a young organization which specialized in occupying vacant places. We have maybe a non-design, non-architectural view of this question. We come from the real estate, from the land planning universe. So we found difficult to admit that in Paris alone there are 4 million square meters of empty office spaces, a quarter of which is non-rentable. And on the other hand, many project bearers, be they creative, be they non-profits, be they, well, almost anything. Many people need readily accessible workspaces. So we try and find the best way to make the go-between between landlords and these people. Yes We Camp are more design-orientated. Their motto is that you can create commons almost anywhere, as long as you think it and design it properly. They started in Marseille during the European Capital of Culture. with a camping site, which worked out quite well, and now they are spreading out all over France. So we are, Plateau Urbain, in charge of assisting Aurore with its real estate strategy, finding the good business model of the place, while Yes We Camp is in charge of bringing the publics to the place, because it has to be, as you could see, it's an enclosed neighborhood. It has to be open to a vast variety of projects and people. As I said, the project is centered on social work, and there are 6 centers, all covering various types of needs, from the emergency sheltering to long-term integration purposes. We have foreign workers, so not technically refugees. They have all the paperwork done, and they just needed accessible housing. We have also, for instance, women waiting for social housing, which is in Paris quite hard to get. As a whole, as I said, 600 people are living on the place. While we have, so these are all numbers, today is 200 organizations that are also occupying the place, so it makes about 2,000 people for the permanent use, 8,000 square meter of occupation, and we were in charge of choosing these people. And well, it was a very important thing for us to have people that come not only for paying a rent, because it was part of the business model, but also to be part of a global social experiment. And we asked them during the call for tender a very old and ancient and important question: what are you ready to do for your neighbor? Be they the inhabitants? Are you ready to, I don't know, give French courses, help them with paperwork, engage in agricultural, cultural, entrepreneur activity, or just anybody in the neighborhood? And we selected them on this sole criteria. So it was a very interesting thing to meet them. We had many applicants, of course, more than 2,000, so we had to be very careful with the choice of the people that were allowed in to be part of the community. Of course, this project is centered on the making of commons. As you can imagine, there are some hard spots. For instance, the café, which is sort of the common, the civic house of the project, but also softer initiatives. Not all of them imagined and designed by the 3 structures I mentioned earlier. The idea is to have people bring as much as they can and as they want to the project on a test and try basis. So as long as it's safe, they are allowed to build, well, poultry houses, for instance, beehives. This is, yeah. There is also not only agricultural but also cultural, sportive facilities that have been constructed in a quite short time span. That's a thing that you must keep in mind, is that we opened the project, Les Grands Voisins, as such in 2015, and we are due to close in December this year. So it's a very brief and stimulating period for us, for all of us, and maybe it's part of the success of the project to have so little time to do so many things. There are, of course, shops, and some of them, shops is a very important thing for us because it allows people to go in the place, discover what is done there, because not all the workspaces are open to the public, and some of them are also linked to the social work. For instance, the truck shop is actually led by Aurore as a place for people that live on site to get access to the basic facilities, common goods. Sometimes a subway ticket is all they need. And it's on a non-monetary basis. So it's good against good, good against time. Here, on the business model, I must stress that this project is run entirely on our funds. So there is no public money in it from the very beginning, and that's a very hard to reproduce part of the project. Of course, Aurore is paying for the whole thing. It's 2.5 million euros a year between the building maintenance and just running the place, plus the social work that goes on site. So it had to be at least on a stable level. Half of it comes through the housing activities, so it's state money, and the rest of it, well, comes from the rent, from all the 200 organizations that are on site. We tried, so that's the price per square meter per month. We tried to have as accessible a price as we could get, and that's half the price of a second-hand office in the neighborhood. So there was a small difference between the environment and our workspaces. And I must say we are on the way of having this challenge achieved, because it's all going pretty good. Hooray. This is the maybe most interesting part of the whole project, because it has some proto-socialist aspects that I really like about it. As I said, everybody has been selected to get involved and to try to go towards the other and lower its own barriers. Many projects are being tested on site by Aurore as pilots for experiments in order to give people their autonomy back. So they designed La Conciergerie Solidaire, which is a neighborhood facility that actually gives people a job through the needs, the unfilled needs of the neighborhood. Some people needed to have their place cleaned up, others needed an assistant in their job, etc., etc. And they select the people in the hosting, in the social facilities to go and find a job in the local organizations. There are, of course, more informal aspects. It's a very rare opportunity to have people living in the institution to go and discuss on a benevolent basis with almost anyone. They are, and they know it, the center of the project, not someone you put under the carpet and don't want to hear about, which is unfortunately the normal lot of them. Yeah, well, a few images, and that are very important in the project too. That's what we call the Conseil des Voisins, so that's our city council, because we wanted, as I said, to have people as involved as they wanted, as involved as they could, and we renovated the former dissection amphitheater as our civic place. And it's also a soapbox for various themes that are not always easy to address in the commercial, traditional spaces of the city. Be that gender studies, be that free access to a free internet, be that the situation in Kurdistan. All the organizations here are allowed to have a time of expression on what they think is most important, and we provide the support and communication so that they are heard and they don't lose their time. That's a very important aspect of the project. Many people come here with quite utopic, and a good sense of it, of course, intentions. Some of them with well, almost revolutionary vision of the city, and they are allowed to express it, to confront it almost permanently. That's one of the shared facilities of the common goods we designed and created. And what's most important here is, of course, offering a sports ground in a very dense neighborhood which lacked such facilities, but also to have no distinctions at all between people, and you couldn't tell and point out who's living on site, who's from the neighborhood, who's walking here, and that's the main goal of the project. And that also is a key word in our project, is hospitality. We are trying to find, again, in this commons theory, the best places and time. That was for Christmas. This man is one of the key figures of the site. He's an artist from Mauritania, and he's running his own gallery on site because, well, he had the opportunity and we helped him open a gallery, even though he has no papers. Maybe on to the future, the eco-neighborhood. So as I said, the planned works are due to start by the spring of 2018. Many patrimonial assets will be, of course, preserved. Around 60% of the buildings will be kept. Essentially, the maternity, where more than 50,000 Parisians were born. So both architecture and social values have been considered. Yeah, well, of course, it's well designed. That's not my part, but I must insist it is. Maybe to make this bridge between temporary uses and permanent, expensive and long-lasting effects. The whole site, as I said, is due to close for the construction works. But the Grand Voisins project helped further design and reflection. Office spaces, for instance, were supposed to be traditional offices because nobody had a clue what and how to build there. And the reflection arose between the land owner, the developer, the collectivity, that it might be a good idea to host such activities that we are hosting now. And as I said, it's a very incredible mix of activities. It's trumpet making, chocolate making, soap making, non-profit working in the fields of recycling, integration through work, artists, of course, etc., etc., etc. You name it, we've got it. And well, the question now is how can we build, or can we design and finance the proper workspaces for these people that we had in the temporary life and that we want to host in the future. And that's one of the aspects where the temporary use have been an help, unexpected help actually, because we were supposed to be ephemeral and it turns out we're not. We helped designing the project. Well, also, and that will be my final word, it is an experiment. We know we can't do that again. We can do that on bigger sites or smaller ones. But we are convinced that these three key values of social work and hosting the poorer and most vulnerable people in this dense city, mixity of uses, mixity of activity, and opening to the public are three excellent ways to approach a project. And we did it actually another time, Plateau Urbain and Aurore, in one of the most bourgeois neighborhoods of Paris, where 12 people are hosted, 40 structures are hosted. And well, the mayor, at first, she went mad and said, "There's no way you do that," and I go and close your fucking... And then she visited the place and she understood that it was actually just normal. And the key word is just normal, it should be normal. And well, that's it.